The dashboard clock blinked 3:17 a.m. as my 18-wheeler thundered down the desolate stretch of road the locals called Route 666. On official maps, it bore the harmless name of State Route 247, but no one ever used it. To those who'd driven this road at night, Route 666 just felt right, easy to remember, like a warning, like a curse. The road twisted through the Appalachian Mountains, slithering like a black snake between dense, tangled woods. No streetlights, no rest stops, no signs of human life. Just a steady drum of rain tapping on the windshield and the whistle of wind sneaking through the seams of the cab. The trees on either side close and tight, their branches warped and gnarled like bony fingers reaching for my truck whenever lightning flashed. I didn't choose this road out of thrill-seeking. In truth, if I had the option, I'd avoid it at all costs. But when the freight company offered double pay for nightly runs through Route 666, I couldn't turn it down. My daughter's hospital bills were stacking up, and the bank had started threatening foreclosure if I missed another payment. Sometimes the price of desperation is silence in the face of fear. I remember the first time I got assigned to the route. The night shift dispatcher, an old man named Hank, quietly handed me a worn yellow envelope as he nodded me into the schedule. When I asked what was inside, he simply said, "Rules. Read them. Memorize them. Follow them exactly. Don't ask." His voice was dry and coarse like gravel. That night, in my motel room, I opened the envelope. Inside was a tattered piece of paper, the handwriting changing from line to line, as though many different people had written down their deadly experiences over the years. The shaky script listed strange rules. Drive only between 3 and 6 a.m., don't go too fast or too slow. Don't stop for anyone, not for police, not for children, not even for family. I laughed hard, thought it was just some hazing prank for rookies. But on my third trip, I saw the man in black between mile markers 37 and 40, and I didn't laugh again. It's my 37th night running this route. By now, I know every crack in the pavement, every twisted silhouette of tree limbs lining the roadside, but no night is ever the same. And I've never known peace once the clock strikes 3:17 a.m., that strange moment when the boundary between the world of the living and something else seems to disappear. On paper, it's just another bland name, State Route 247, like hundreds of rural highways crisscrossing America. Every map, GPS app, and those fading signs along the shoulder insist that's all it is. But to anyone who's driven this stretch after midnight, that name means nothing at all. We call it Route 666, not because we're superstitious, not because it sounds cool, but because it earned that name. It isn't just a road. It's a fragile boundary between reality and something other, something that doesn't belong to this world. To outsiders, it's just an empty highway cutting through the Appalachian Range, maybe a bit risky to drive at night. But to us, the drivers who haul freight through the dark, it's a ritual, a nightly descent into something ancient and wrong, where normal rules don't apply. None of us dare refer to it as State Route 247 seriously. Even in our logbooks or trip reports, we only call it 666. 3 numbers that sound like knuckles rapping on hell's front door. A veteran driver once warned me, say its real name and it'll hear you. Over time, I realized he wasn't joking. The road has a will, and it listens. I remember once, on my 4th run, I joked over the CB radio, running 247 tonight. A few minutes later, my radio switched on by itself, playing back my voice, distorted, warped, looping the same phrase in a whisper full of mockery. That night, I saw a figure hanging upside down from the mile 50 sign. Its mouth was stretched wide in a grotesque grin, blood dripping onto the asphalt. It wasn't a hallucination. The stain was still smeared across my side mirror when I reached the rest stop. Since then, I've never dared to call it anything but Route 666, because out there, names carry weight. And sometimes, a name is the last thing you'll have before every trace of you vanishes from a map forever. That road isn't just a ribbon of asphalt cutting through southeastern Ohio. It's a black river winding between the Appalachian foothills, silent and dangerous like a coiled serpent in slumber. I've driven through countless states, logged thousands of miles each year, but nowhere has ever made me feel as small as Route 666 does. At night, the road transforms. It's no longer a highway. It becomes a closed world of its own, where the laws of physics and common sense seem to unravel. The woods on either side aren't the tidy, fenced-off kind you find in parks. They're wild and old, thick and whispering. The trees grow tight together like they're conspiring, and the branches stretch long like they're trying to grab hold of anything that dares to pass through. Sometimes, it feels less like I'm driving through a forest and more like I'm drifting through another dimension, where time slows and sound gets crushed under some unseen pressure. Every curve feels like I'm swinging around some buried secret, and every time lightning cracks across the sky, I catch glimpses, shadows darting between trunks, eyes flashing faintly in the glare of my high beams, vanishing before I can register what I've seen. Once, while navigating the tightest turn near Slate Ridge Pass, I saw a wooden door embedded in the cliffside. No house, no foundation, just a door, standing there in the middle of the woods, slightly ajar, trembling in the wind. I knew better than to stop, but I couldn't look away. For several long seconds, it was all I could see. When I finally tore my gaze away and checked my rear-view mirror, the door was open, and beyond it was nothing, just endless, swallowing black. After that night, I started calling the road the Black River, because unlike other roads that carry you from point A to B, this one took me deeper into the shadows of my own mind, where I began to question reality, memory, and even myself. To outsiders, maybe it's just Route 247 on the map, but to me, it's a trial of survival, a journey through the underworld, where one slip of the wheel could send you drifting into the dark, and no one would ever remember you existed. The rain had started the moment I left the depot in Gallipolis, and it hadn't stopped since. On the cursed route they call Route 666, rain isn't just weather, it's part of the ritual, as if nature itself obeys the sinister rules that govern this road. The raindrops hammered the windshield in a hypnotic rhythm, tapping like ghostly knocks from another world. Every drop felt like it carried a story or a warning. No matter how fast the wipers moved, they couldn't keep up. The glass was always blurred, like the world outside was melting, warping, and shifting between real and unreal. I've driven through Dakota's snowstorms, across Arizona deserts in blistering heat, but no weather has ever unsettled me like the rain on this road. It didn't just slick the pavement or fog my view. It seeped into my brain, like my thoughts were soaking wet and floating apart. The cold slipped into the cab like an invisible thief, despite the heater working fine. The air smelled of rain mixed with plastic, metal, and faintly, something else. Something like freshly turned soil. At one point, I could swear I caught the coppery tang of blood. Lightning flared suddenly, illuminating the desiccated trees by the roadside, twisted trunks rising up as if trying to embrace the truck. And then, for the briefest moment, I saw a figure standing in the woods, motionless, caught between two flashes of lightning. No movement, no face, just standing there, as if they'd been waiting for me. For a long, long time, I gripped the wheel tighter, eyes locked on the rain-slick lane. Keep speed between 47 and 57 miles per hour, I muttered. Rule 2. Everything on this road follows rules. Even the rain. An old driver once told me, if the rain lasts your whole trip, it's not regular rain. That's holding rain. It wants to slow you down. Don't let it. I kept my foot steady. 52 miles per hour. Perfect. Ahead, the water on the windshield suddenly started flowing upward, like time itself was reversing. I blinked hard, heart pounding, but I didn't slow down. On Route 666, anyone who stops never moves again. Another lightning bolt flashed, lighting up the massive trees leaning over the road, like the forest itself was trying to devour this black ribbon of pavement. The branches were gnarled, brittle, clawing toward the cab. For a split second, I didn't feel like I was driving to the mountains. I felt like I was passing through a mouth where the darkness was teeth and the woods were gums. There was something alive about the trees, not just because the wind stirred the leaves, but because they were watching me. Each bolt of lightning pulled back the curtain of night just enough to reveal twisted shapes embedded in the bark. Faces, warped and frozen, mouths agape in mute horror. I'd heard the old truckers talk. They say the forest along Route 666 can feel human emotion. If you're afraid, it draws closer. If you're desperate, it opens its arms. And if you stop just for a second, it will never let you go again. That's when a lightning strike tore the sky open with a crack, like the roar of something inhuman. The flash lasted less than a heartbeat, but it was long enough for me to see a figure hanging in midair, suspended from a high branch nearly 30 feet above the ground. Not hanging by rope, no. The trees held them there. Living branches twisted around the limbs, the throat, even the eyes, like vines hungry for flesh. I shut my eyes for one breath. When I opened them, the image was gone, but the feeling of being watched remained. My rig roared forward, holding steady at 50 miles per hour. I didn't dare go faster, but slowing down wasn't an option either. I knew if I let myself get distracted, if I let the things in the forest draw me in, then I'd be breaking the first rule of Route 666. Don't let them know you're afraid. Up ahead, a thick branch fell across the road, just yards in front of the truck. For a split second, instinct told me to slam the brakes. But something deeper, maybe instinct, maybe something older, screamed inside my skull. Don't stop. Never stop. I clenched my jaw and nudged the wheel to the right. The tires skimmed the rain-soaked shoulder, missing a tree the size of a telephone pole by inches. As I passed, the fallen branch vanished, gone, like it had never been there at all. A trick of the forest. A test. A warning. On Route 666, everything is aware. And nothing is more terrifying than when lifeless things start to observe you. Every time lightning split the sky, it exposed a sliver of the truth hiding in the dark. For just a breath, that cold blue light would cut through the trees, and I'd catch fleeting movement where there should be none. They weren't animals, and they sure as hell weren't human. The way they moved, too fast, too wrong. Their joints didn't bend the right way. Once, I saw a tall, thin silhouette standing between two massive oaks, its head tilted sideways at a perfect 90-degree angle, staring straight toward my truck, though it was far too distant for me to make out its face. But I knew. It saw me. Another time, I saw a pair of arms, just arms, unnaturally long, wrapped around a tree trunk. The fingertips brushed the ground. There was no body, no head, just two arms. When the lightning blinked out, so did they. These things didn't hide, but they didn't reveal themselves either. They hover at the edges of perception, like half-formed thoughts circling just out of reach. And I couldn't shake the feeling that if I thought about them long enough, they would become real. I once asked Hank, an old, wiry man at the depot who'd worked night runs longer than anyone, about the things I saw out there. He just gave me a look and said, "If you see something in the woods you can't name, don't try. A name is an invitation. Once you name it, it's got a place in your world." I never forgot that. But it's hard. Hard not to name things when the lightning keeps revealing what shouldn't exist. My mind tried to dismiss them. Hallucinations from exhaustion, from rain, from the long hours. But deep down I knew better. I wasn't the only thing moving through the dark. There was something else, pacing me in the trees, never too close, never too far, keeping perfect distance. Not hunting, watching, like they didn't want to catch me, yet they just wanted me to know that I was seen, that each trip was part of some game whose rules I didn't understand. And then, during a blinding flash of lightning, one so strong it lit up the woods like a film set, I saw it. A face, no eyes, skin stretched taut like a drumhead, a mouth that didn't move. But I heard it anyway, inside my head. "Next time, you'll have to stop." I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles went numb. Don't react. Don't look too closely. Don't think too much. There was only one thing I needed to do. Hold the speed. Follow the rules. Don't let my mind betray me. Because on Route 666, the mind is the first battlefield. I didn't choose Route 666. No one in their right mind ever does. But desperation has a way of muting the survival instinct. And I was slowly dying beneath the weight of bills with my daughter's name on them. Ellie's only 8. She needs a surgery insurance won't cover. I still remember the way she looked at me and asked, "Daddy, are we going to lose our house?" I didn't have an answer, but Route 666 did. Double pay for every run through the dark. I told myself, just a few runs, just enough to pay it all off. Then I'll quit. But someone once warned me, once Route 666 knows your name, it doesn't let go easy. Tonight was run number 37. I followed every rule. Keep your speed between 47 and 57 miles per hour. Don't look too long at anything in the trees. Don't answer the phone. Never stop. I survived. But Route 666 doesn't just test the body. It wears down the mind. The rain eased off as I neared my destination. The dash clock read 5:32 a.m. If I arrived before 5:45, I had to stay in the truck. Doors locked. Eyes down. Mouth shut. I knew the drill. But tonight, as I turned into warehouse yard, something was already waiting at the gate. Not a person. It looked like my daughter. Messy hair. Pale pink pajamas. Her teddy bear clutched tight in her arms. But her eyes, empty, dark as the bottom of a well. I slammed the brakes. My heart pounded like a war drum. The clock said 5:41. Daddy? The voice was hers. Ellie's. I'm so cold. Don't leave me out here. I shut my eyes, shaking. Don't open the door. Don't let emotion kill reason. I know you love me. The voice came closer, right outside the glass. Just one hug, Daddy, just one. I gripped the steering wheel, so hard my palms split open. Outside, the windshield fogged up from its breath. It was right there. 5:43. I began to sing, voice trembling like a frayed wire. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. That song had always been our charm, our tether. Whatever came from Route 666, no matter if it wore Ellie's voice, Ellie's face, it wasn't her. Then, crack, the windshield split. A shriek erupted outside, not human, not even close. You chose her, not me. I screamed back, Daniel James Mercer. Again, Daniel James Mercer. One more time, as the darkness howled around me. Daniel, James, Mercer. 3 times. As the rule said, no mistakes, no hesitation. Each word, a blow to the storm. A shield against the thing with my daughter's face. 5:45. The minute hand clicked up like the toll of the salvation bell. All sound stopped. I opened my eyes. No one stood in front of the truck. No marks on the windshield. The radio was still silent. The sky was starting to turn a pale gray. I had survived. When I got home that morning, Ellie ran out and threw her arms around me. Real, warm, eyes full of life. I sank to my knees, holding her tight. For the first time, it felt like I had made the right choice. But as she turned and walked back into the house, something slipped from her teddy bear. A small, old scrap of paper. Worn, yellowed. The ink faded but still legible. The 38th trip requires no payment. It's your reward. I froze. My hands went ice cold. Because Route 666 doesn't just take things from you. Sometimes it leaves something behind.